Alright, what's up? What's up? It's CFX. Let's get this going here. I just wanted to record real quick my 3v3s this round. This is my first go in Division 4, and wanted to make sure I didn't mess this up. So I was, especially with 3v3s, I wanted to kind of record this for my own kind of documentation and kind of just to recall what does and doesn't work as well in certain situations. So, you know, this guy that I was facing here didn't have that great of a roster this whole round. My first time in Division 4, I think they kind of matched me up against some folks that are a bit lower than my level of play ability, and they don't really match with my roster here. So that said, this guy did go pretty heavy on defense, and so I wanted to double check on some of these things, make sure some of these counters worked. Shout out to those in Mos Eisley Cantina and the guild community there for helping me kind of square away some of my approach here on attack. So as you see, this is my Geos. I was bringing them here against his Bastila Jedi, which weren't modded that well. My Geos are kind of low gear, moderate gear level, but that said, I kind of went through pretty quickly, but you can rewind if you really want to check the mods on my Geos. They are modded very well for their level. I found that they usually outmod most opponent Geos everywhere I go. So yeah, here's some more quick look at my spy. I have the video kind of going really quick because these first few battles aren't really that important. I mostly wanted to kind of record this for just a few battles, just to kind of show how it goes, so I could kind of pay attention here in the future when I'm going up against similar teams. But yeah, pretty standard stuff here. Against these Jedi, I was not really paying a whole lot of attention. Might have been able to squeeze another banner out, but I doubt it really. I think I kind of maximized what I'm going to get on this. So we'll just keep kind of blazing through it pretty quick. And I apologize for the microphone quality. It probably sounds like trash, but whatever. Just going through here and focusing down on Yoda. And I think I had a heal left. Yep, I had that left here to kind of normalize everything on the health points, and just lost that one protection banner. So his JKR here was really, it's modded like garbage, but this is his best character on his roster really. So I wasn't too concerned, but this team always is tough. And this Jolee though is modded fairly well, but you don't really want to mod Jolee for protection, so I wasn't that worried. He does have good tenacity on his Jolee, but protection on a Jolee isn't really what you want to aim for. Similar situation with his modding of Kenobi here. Not bad, not great. This team over here was what I was worried about, this Traya team. So you don't get to see those too often on defense, so I was kind of just making sure I planned enough to take in what I needed to only on this JKR, and just in case he had something decent on the back line, but I figured this would be overkill either way. And he didn't have anything else on his whole roster that I would need to save my Darth Revan for, so I probably could have done this with just the duo, Darth Revan and Basti Fallen, but figured just to be safe, wanted to go in here and get that overkill. Usually I do chase banners a bit too much, so it's a bit of a change of pace for me here to not undersize everything and not try to squeeze out every single banner possible. But that said, I still think I kind of maximized banners in most of the battles I had. Then when I see his back wall here, and it's a complete joke, so nothing for me to worry about. He had a Darth Revan on his roster and a couple other G12 teams, but looks like he saved those for offense, and he won't be able to get through my defense with that for sure. So yeah, it's really just about me going against Traya here. His Traya, again, not modded well. She's got an offense cross. Full offense Traya. Everybody's slow on his whole roster, so I knew speed was not going to be an issue. It was just a matter of what does and doesn't work here. I had my JKR, figured I'd go in. Again, not modded incredibly well, but more than well enough for what I need against this team. I just don't know the Traya kits, that Sith Trio, mechanics really well, because I don't really have mine modded up or geared up well enough to use. So this is really just a learning experience, kind of going through here, and figured I could easily focus down on Traya and not really have much of an issue with that. I know that the tenacity up that I had there at the beginning was going to prevent Nihilus from reducing our cooldowns or increasing, or opposite, increasing our cooldowns or reducing his own. So I wasn't worried about that. And with how slow they were, I figured I would go Scion next. Again, I don't know if that's the typical approach you always want to take. Do you always want to go after Traya first and then Scion next? And beyond that, what I really also didn't know is how to maximize my health and protection here. So I kind of just drew this out here at the end, trying to really mess around and see if I could regain all those protection banners, and really played around for a while. It looks like I don't really think you can, especially with this team. There isn't a whole lot of action to really regain protection with these Jedi, so you really you can play it out and draw it out. And you know, that move there, the middle ability on JKR, is a good one to really regain some protection, but there was just not really going to be a way that I could fully gain it all back, I didn't think. If I'm wrong on that, please let me know, but otherwise I think I probably maximized as much as I could on the banners here. So about this point I just kind of got annoyed and was just like, whatever, I'm just going to finish it. Stop going back and forth. So I lost those 2 protection banners, but wasn't really worried about it. Was glad I was able to so easily get through that Traya team. I'm sure I'd have trouble with a more challenging team in the future that's modded a little bit better, but for now that helps me. I usually lose a lot to Traya in territory wars, so because I just don't know the kits very well. So I usually, nowadays, I just skip the battle. But now it was just kind of a matter of maximizing whatever banners I can get left. So I'll just keep this video running on high speed. I really severely outmatched these rebels he had. I mean, random G12, Biggs, and Wedge, and so I figured I would get through this fairly easily, no problems. Sort of disappointed that his Leia even took a turn there, you know? I know she didn't attack, but still, it's like, I thought I would get through it without them even taking a turn. And then I just wanted to really see, I think there's one feat I needed to still get, that Mandalorian related feat with getting kills with characters that wear Mandalorian armor. So I definitely also like to take my new relic Vader in and solo as many things as possible. But yeah, I went back here to double check all feats, and I still have 3 wins there, or 3 defeats to get that one feat. So I had that in the back of my head, but still wanted to go and Vader solo these mediocre Ewoks here. My Vader now, his stats still aren't ideal. Really need to get that crit chance up, but he's still able to solo most Geos that I face at this level. G12, even mix a few relics in there, and my Relic 5 Vader, as long as he gets that crit hit that he needs, is really no issue. So this is kind of ridiculous, though. I do want to maybe slow this video down, or well, no, I'll just leave it running. But this is really stupid. Like, that CLS team that I just showed you is garbage modded, not even modded on the low gear Han and Chewie. But I should have brought in my own CLS, maybe just actually Han Solo by himself, because even though his Han doesn't have the Zeta, he's still going to shoot first, and that slipped my mind. So, you know, I go in here with a Relic 5 JKA and get smashed here at the beginning. Like, they just come through, they stun me, and they're just, you know, working. If Chewie would have actually landed a stun there, I would have been screwed. So yeah, thankfully this AoE is enough to handle them easily, but still really disappointing that I lost those banners. Really need to not do that in the future, not to try to be too cocky with the overkilling against even a garbage CLS team. You got to come in there ready to get stunned. So here I go with just kind of going for that feat. Got these 2 low geared folks here, got gear 9 and gear 10, and going up against this garbage Dooku and Grievous team. Still, it's annoying, even though I my opponent brought in his negotiator. Not a great negotiator, not at all, but still wanted to record this for my own personal reference in the future. And then this here, yeah, CLS versus this garbage team he had in the back. Low gear. I don't even know if they had mods, honestly. A lot of guys, even still at Division 4, not really bringing much to the table in GAC defenses. So get through this pretty easily. Then we got to run here on this negotiator team. So I put my negotiator down on defense as well. Division 4, usually most people have low star negotiators, if anything at all. Either they have one negotiator in Malevolence, low star, or they have neither. And if you have one, you usually put it down on defense. So what I usually do, as you can see here, I've got these rebels, low gear, low power. These rebels do a lot of work. Usually not what you want to bring in against negotiator, but a low gear rebels on offense can do a lot of work. You don't need to have a full roster here to bring in against most teams you face. I'm talking even at higher divisions. I find this in my territory war. Like I'm in a guild that is well above my weight level, so to speak. Like, and we're in the absolute top tier of GP in territory war, and I can bring in a team like this and beat a lot of stuff they've got. Like usually I'm going to bring in a full team, actually, if it's territory wars, but still, 300k GP Akbar fleet or something like that can do a lot of damage. And if you just know the mechanics and you know who to target, who not to target, then it's usually gonna help you out a lot. Let me actually slow this down a little bit just so I can see how this went and pay closer attention. But yeah, so usually it's important. I wanted to try to see, and this is the tempting thing always. It doesn't matter what you bring in. When you're going up against another fleet, you see their weakest link or you see their biggest DPS and you want to target that first. I went there after Plo Koon. Shouldn't have done that. If you cannot get them out in one quick turn, always focus on the tank. So I should have went for Houndstooth here because I didn't. This battle drew out a little bit longer than it should have. But just be patient. Focus on the tank. Focus on that taunt that you know the taunt is going to come up anyway. And if you can't get a buff immunity or something on them, then just focus on that tank and just slowly pick it apart. This guy ended up having a handful of tanks, so I knew this was going to be a long battle at this point. And I just, went back to basics. I decided, all right, I'm just going to focus on Houndstooth, chip away at it as much as possible. I will be distracted with some other taunts here eventually. Like here, I was going to be stuck behind another taunt, but you just got to be patient. I ended up not even needing to bring in my reinforcement because I saw pretty early on he didn't have the damage to get through any of my tanks, even though they're not that well geared or that strong. He just doesn't have any DPS out there, and having knowledge of my rebel fleet, I know really the mechanics. I know how to maximize my assists with my low gear. I think I have gear 10 and gear 9 Han and Chewie on that 7-star Falcon. But he still does work, man. You just got to keep building those assists up, and it'll really do a lot of good in territory wars because most people save their rebel fleet, but it turns out they don't really know how to use them very well. So again, I wouldn't really recommend bringing a rebel fleet usually against negotiator. That's not really typically what you want to do, but this guy was super weak, and I figured at worst I was prepared to go in 2-battle, defeat this guy, but since I saw how low geared everything was, that was a 6-star Houndstooth, but he did have G12 and 2 Zetas on him, so it's nothing to really scoff at. That's a pretty typical level Houndstooth that you're going to face in most game modes. So as long as you're patient and you focus down on the Houndstooth or whatever primary tank it is, and you are able to chip away at it and get through it, you can just slowly win most of your battles. And I really see in our territory wars a lot. I'm in a great guild, but a lot of times, even against mediocre teams, we've got guys in there dropping battles, 2, 3, 4, 5 sometimes battles on just very low-level teams, and I don't really know what it comes down to, but I think part of it probably comes down to not really understanding the full capability of your own fleet. You don't want to shorthand yourself too much, but as you see here, I didn't need that reinforcement. I think this is a special case because that guy was really kind kind of low geared, but overall I think it stands for most of the fleet battles you're going to see. Is you don't need to massively overkill as long as you just focus on the right thing first. You don't try to kill their DPS or anything early unless you are sure you can get through it. So yeah, that's that, and I guess I'll see you next time.